Turn down the lights, find your favorite blanket, and welcome to the Library of High Strangeness, presented by Simple Side Quests. Every week in the month of October, we will delve into the world's creepiest true mysteries. So settle in, try not to shiver, as I tell you the tale of the Mothman. November 12th, 1966, Point Pleasant, West Virginia. 5 gravediggers are working in a cemetery. They're preparing a grave for an upcoming burial when they begin to notice movement around them. Something is darting between the trees, something they cannot identify. They continue their work, but when something finally soars up into the sky above them, they quickly leave the work and the cemetery. Later, they would report that the thing resembled a winged humanoid creature with glowing red eyes. 3 days later, 2 young couples are taking a joyride through the woods just outside of Point Pleasant. They were passing an old World War II munitions factory, long since closed, when in the shadow of the building they spotted 2 glowing red lights. They stopped the car and were startled to see that the lights were the eyes of a large animal. As Roger Scarberry would describe it to police officers, shaped like a man, but bigger, maybe 6.5 or 7 feet tall, with big wings folded against its back. Terrified, the couples sped away. As they rounded a corner, they saw the creature again, standing on a ridge near the road. It spread its wings and took off, following their car to the city limits at speeds excess of 80 miles an hour. But police could not find any evidence of the creature. Later that same night, about 10:30 p.m., Newell Partridge was watching television when he saw the screen suddenly go dark. A weird pattern filled the screen, and he heard a loud whining sound coming from outside. Newell's dog Bandit began to stir and howl out on the front porch, focusing his attention on the barn. Newell took a flashlight and went out to investigate. When he shined the beam in the direction of the barn, the light illuminated 2 red circles that looked like eyes. Bandit shot off across the yard in the direction of the glowing eyes, never to be seen again. For weeks after, the citizens of Point Pleasant would arm themselves and search through the hundreds of acres of woods surrounding the abandoned factory for the creature. Filled with dense woods, ponds, ridges, and even underground tunnels, this area would be prime habitat for a creature such as this. In fact, the largest number of sightings happened near the old abandoned munitions factory, in the region known by locals as the TNT area. A couple and their infant daughter had gone to visit friends that lived near the abandoned factory. After their visit, they were walking back to their car when something rose up from behind the car, large and gray with glowing red eyes. Terrified, the couple ran back into the house, begging their friends to call the police. Outside, the creature climbed onto the porch and peered through the windows. By the time police had arrived, the creature had vanished. For the next 13 months, the people of Point Pleasant would continue to report sightings of what they came to call the Mothman. In trees, in fields, flying in the air, and even following their cars. An elderly woman reported that she had seen it standing in her front lawn, and children reported seeing it in the night sky. 2 volunteer firefighters claimed to see a large bird with red eyes. Mothman was not the only mysterious figure seeming to torment the people of Point Pleasant. Witnesses who had reported Mothman sightings to the police, and especially witnesses whose reports were then noted in the newspapers, would often be visited by men in black, who would introduce themselves as officials from various government agencies. These mysterious characters would often be described as acting bizarrely or in a threatening manner, and would ask to speak to the witnesses about their encounter. But after hearing their story, witnesses were warned not to talk to anyone about the incident. Witnesses say they were sometimes followed by men in black for several weeks following their sighting. In all, over 100 sightings of Mothman were reported. Then, on December 15, 1967, in the middle of rush hour traffic, the Silver Bridge connecting Point Pleasant to Ohio collapsed. A single eye-bar with a flaw of only 2 millimeters doomed the structure and killed 46 people. In the aftermath, researchers have speculated that Mothman may have been a harbinger for warning of imminent tragedy to come. Although sighting reports diminished after 1967, there are still sightings reported even as recently as 2024. And the range of Mothman sightings has expanded into Illinois, Arizona, and even Florida. Sightings in Point Pleasant still happen from time to time, and it seems the townspeople have learned to embrace Mothman as the resident cryptid. There's even a museum and statue dedicated to him. Since 2002, Point Pleasant has held an annual Mothman Festival in September, including live bands, attractions, and even tours of the TNT area. So the question remains, what exactly is Mothman? Let's look at some of the most common theories. Theory number 1. Mothman is a cryptid, a mythological or legendary creature whose existence has not been proven by modern science. Nessie and Bigfoot are examples of other cryptids in the world. Sometimes these creatures are associated with magical powers, such as Mothman's ability to forewarn of impending disaster. In fact, on September 10, 1978, in Freiburg, Germany, a group of miners were starting work when a man, appearing to be wrapped in a dark trench coat, blocked the entrance to the mine. When approached, the coat unfurled into 2 massive black wings, and the creature made a terrifying sound similar to the screams of 50 people at once. At approximately 8 a.m., there was a massive subterranean explosion which rocked the mine. They rushed to the mine entrance to discover the shrieker was gone, and part of the mine had collapsed. When the smoke and flame died down, it was determined that all 36 miners would have perished had they entered the mine as usual. So was it Mothman? Or Mothman's brother? Theory number 2. Mothman is an alien. The appearance of Mothman coincides with many sightings of strange lights in the sky over the same area of West Virginia. And men in black that witnesses encountered after a Mothman sighting are more commonly associated with UFO sightings. And that's only the tip of the iceberg. On November 3, 1966, only a month before the first Mothman sightings, Woodrow Derenberger held a press conference to announce that he had been visited by a spaceman. He stated that on the night before, he was driving home when he saw an unidentified flying object which blocked the road ahead of him and forced him to stop. According to Derenberger, a 6-foot-tall man wearing a glossy dark blue coat walked up to his vehicle. The man smiled, and his mouth never moved as the man telepathically introduced himself as Indrid Cold. He communicated with Derenberger for about 10 minutes.
1 second we were talking there, and the next thing this vehicle settled down right beside. He stepped back from the truck, and when it settled down, he turned and walked up. But just before he started, he said, "Mr. Derenberger, we will be seeing you again."
Now, what does all of this have to do with Mothman? An offshoot of the alien Mothman theory is that Indrid Cold is Mothman in disguise. So basically, if aliens can appear as humans, then maybe they can also appear as Mothman. Or maybe Mothman is what aliens actually look like. Anyway, moving on. Theory number 3. The whole thing is a hoax perpetrated by the government to distract the town and keep people away from the abandoned factory. Now, to understand this theory, you have to know that the 1960s was smack dab in the middle of what we call the Cold War. It wasn't an actual war, It was more of a competition between the US and Russia to see who could develop the biggest, nastiest, most destructive weapons the fastest. This led to a lot of secret military operations, spying, weapon testing, etc. And what better place to develop and test the next best weapon than a huge abandoned factory surrounded by hundreds of acres of woodland in the middle of nowhere, West Virginia? So, Mothman could be a scare tactic used to keep residents of the area afraid to go anywhere near the factory. Or, Mothman is either an escaped guinea pig of mad government scientists or an animal of the surrounding woodland that suffered the after effects of leaked radiation from nearby military bases. Theory number 4. Mothman is a misidentified great horned owl or sandhill crane. Sandhill cranes are large birds with a wingspan of up to 7 feet, and they have a reddish patch of skin on their heads, which could be mistaken for glowing red eyes in the dark. However, sandhill cranes are not native to West Virginia, so for this theory to make sense, a sandhill crane would have to go off its usual migration route. So on one hand, it is somewhat unlikely that a sandhill crane would be in West Virginia, but on the other, that would make it an unfamiliar animal in the area and easier to mistake as the Mothman. So let's talk owls. Some researchers suggest that the creature's large size, glowing red eyes, and nocturnal habits, as described in the sightings, align with the characteristics of the great horned owl, which have a wingspan that can appear much larger than their body size, especially when seen at night. Owls' eyes can reflect light appearing to glow red, especially in low light conditions or when caught in the beam of a flashlight. Owls are active at night, which is when most of the Mothman sightings occurred, and they make a variety of vocalizations which could be misinterpreted as the Mothman sounds. And let's not forget that many of the descriptions mentioned that the Mothman didn't seem to have a head. It was just 2 eyes on a body, which sounds a lot like an owl. But the size reported for Mothman is way bigger than the size of a great horned owl. And last but not least, theory number 5. Mothman is simply a legend sprung from the imaginations of frightened townsfolk. The intense media coverage and growing fear in the community might have fueled mass hysteria, causing people to misinterpret ordinary sightings, such as those of large birds, as something supernatural. Mass hysteria is a psychological and social phenomenon where a group of people experience similar physical or emotional symptoms due to suggestion, fear, or anxiety. Some theorize that the power of suggestion in these situations can be so strong that people will lean into the popular narrative. In fact, scientists have shown that suggestion can influence and even change people's recollection of past events. And let's not forget, sightings of Mothman continue to this day. So maybe one day in the future we'll know the truth. But for now, the mystery of the Mothman endures. In the end, it's up to you. What do you believe? Do you believe that astonishing creatures can exist? Or aliens, for that matter? Or are we simply unable to recognize an owl in the night? Are we easily influenced by an engaging story to keep us entertained while we continue to live out our very normal, average lives? Whatever it is, we know there is much more in and out of this world left to discover and explore. And so, I'll keep this cryptic cryptid in the library of high strangeness. And we're startled to see that elderly woman reported seeing it in an elderly woman reported. So, Mothman could be a scare tactic used to keep residents of the area and easier to mistake as the Mothman. Some researchers, maybe one day in the future,